All right, Perk. Is David Falk, okay, is he really saying that MJ would average 60 points on 75% shooting in today's game? Do you feel that's BS or real talk?
Look, that's BS. And you know the bad part about it was that he was dead serious. Look, David Falk might be sitting back sipping too much of that moonshine, because to say that Michael Jordan would average 60 points on 75% shooting, that is absurd. I wouldn't even do that when I be going to the LA Fitness. I be going getting buckets, but to to disrespect this generation like that is just disturbing to me, and he's out of line. Like, Jordan wouldn't average 60 points on 70% shooting, 75% shooting. That's just crazy.
You know what never gets brought up in this old time versus modern time debate is, yeah, it's less physical and you can't hand check, and there's no Detroit Pistons body slamming people to the floor now. But the defense is so much more complicated. You can play zone, you can overload one side of the floor. And isolation is so much of a more complex as an attack mode than it was when Michael played. So it's not, people just focus on the physicality. Of course this is BS. Of course he wouldn't average 60 points on 75% shooting. He might not even be able to average that in NBA Jam. I just don't understand, where are these numbers coming from? What's next, 80 points on 90% shooting? Like, what's the next thing?
Yeah, it's just utterly ridiculous. It kind of reminds me, shout out to our friends at NFL Countdown when they do, come on, man. This feels like that. Like, this feels like a come on, man. All right, next we move on. Former president and GM of the Sixers, Sam Hinkie, did a rare interview with our pal Pablo Torre on the ESPN Daily podcast. Make sure you subscribe to that. Pablo asked Hinkie if he'd be interested in returning to the league at some point in any capacity. Hinkie denied it outright. Here's what he said. Hinkie, the creator of The Process in Philly, said on his interest in returning to the league, quote, "0. I've turned that chapter for sure. That part of my life is gone. I very much like what I'm doing now." And for reference, he is a man who runs a venture capitalist firm at this point. But Zach, is Hinkie saying that he has 0 interest in returning to the NBA? BS or real talk?
I think it's real talk. I've never gotten the sense from Sam that he really has any interest in going back to the NBA. He's super happy on the West Coast doing what he's doing. I think it would take an owner coming to him and saying, you have carte blanche. I'm never even going to pick up the phone and tell you what to do. I'm going to give you unlimited resources to do it your way and unlimited time to do it. And that's just not a realistic scenario. So I think it's real talk. Farewell, Sam Hinkie.
Oh, Zach, please. I can't believe you falling for that. That's BS. That's BS. If someone came and offered him the bag, he would take the job. Come on now. We always know. You just said it earlier in the show, money talk. Money moves the needle. So if someone came and offered him a nice job, we just watched it with Daryl Morey. Daryl Morey walked away from the Rockets and said, you know what, I'm going to take this time with my family and I'm going to, just be in my kids' life. And then all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, we hearing about, or not even 2 weeks later, a week later, we hearing about him taking the Philly job. Come on, Zach, don't be fooled by that.
So, Perk,
people don't go into venture capital to not make money. I think he's probably making money.
Yeah, I would say he's probably making money, but I would lean towards, I'm going to go with Zach here, mostly because of how toxic it was at the end there. I mean, the league literally extrapolated him from that situation. Like, I just think that the owners around the league, to Zach's point, like, I don't see anyone giving him carte blanche and whatnot. And he does live a nice life, is what I'm guessing, if he's running a venture capitalist firm. So, Perk, is Danny Green saying the Clippers were humbled by the basketball gods for not playing the right way? BS or real talk?
That's real talk. And they were. Look, the Clippers were the most arrogant team in the NBA. And they only had one champion as a player, and that was Kawhi Leonard. Everyone else was cocky, talking noise like they won championships, and they did get humble. You have to respect the game. You have to respect the game of basketball in your opponent. All the basketball guards, like Danny Green, a 3-time champion, just said, will humble you, and that's what happened to the Clippers.
I think it's real talk only because I love any invocation of the basketball gods. I believe in the basketball gods. I believe they're listening and watching, and they are ready to punish or reward you based on your behavior. As to Perk's point, look, I do think the Clippers' adversity level in the bubble has sort of been understated in the rush to pile on them. You know, they had 3 key players leave for family tragedies and come back, and none of them were right, and that was obvious. That said, they played the Denver series like they just expected Denver to roll over. We're up 15 in the third quarter, you're on the verge of elimination, you're gonna roll over, we'll cruise, we're ready for the Lakers. And when Denver punched back, they just flat out fell to the mat and never got up. And that's the thing about the NBA. Perk will tell you, no matter how good your team is, no matter how much you've been yapping all year and blowing people out, you are going to hit adversity in the playoffs. It is how you respond to that adversity that defines you as a team, and they flat out failed. And so maybe the basketball gods did punish them.
Ultimately, I agree with you guys. There were some other things. Obviously, injuries played a factor in all this stuff, and I don't think they really understood what kind of injuries that they may have been dealing with, and they were snake-bitten in certain ways. But they did cheat the process, it felt like, in a lot of ways. There were opportunities for them to get on the same page from a chemistry perspective, and for one reason or another, it didn't work out. And that's on them, ultimately. It's on the players, it's on the coaching staff, it's on the organization as a whole.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.